Factory Studios in downtown Little Rock. This is Capitol View.
Because the resolution contains two distinct propositions, we will divide the question between the two articles. The question now is on Article 1 of the resolution, impeaching President Donald J. Trump for abusing his powers. The clerk will report.
Mr. Chairman, there are 23 ayes and 17 noes.
The article is agreed to. The question now is on Article 2 of the resolution, impeaching President Donald J. Trump for obstructing Congress. The clerk will report.
Mr. Chairman, there are 23 ayes and 17 noes.
The article is agreed to. The resolution as amended is ordered reported favorably to the House.
And good Sunday morning to you. Welcome into Capitol View. I'm Jay Burr. Well, as you just heard, the House Judiciary Committee voting 23-17 on both articles of impeachment against President Trump. They now head to the full House floor for a vote. And here to break this all down and try to make sense of things, our D.C. correspondent, Jesse Tenor. So Jesse, I guess, what is the House actually going to be voting on, and what does this mean going forward?
So just like you saw in the Judiciary Committee right there, the House is also going to be taking up these articles of impeachment. Now, every member gets to have their vote recorded. So that'll be interesting to see how that breaks down. This went right down party lines as expected. The House on the floor vote next week, expected next week, should be the same. If anything, we could maybe see some Democrats in districts that the president won back in 2016 potentially vote no on impeachment from maybe what they're even hearing from constituents over this weekend. But that remains to be seen. It should, though, go to the Senate for that trial.
And President Trump actually had this to say while he was down in Paraguay visiting. Take a listen.
My poll numbers, as you know, have gone through the roof. Fundraising for the Republican Party has gone through the roof. We're setting records. Nobody's ever seen anything like it because the people are disgusted. The people are absolutely disgusted. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. And I watched yesterday, I got to see quite a bit of it yesterday, and I watched these Democrats on the committee make fools out of themselves, absolute fools out of themselves.
Well, we're not here to necessarily endorse that or anything, but it does kind of beg the question strategically with the 2020 elections coming up. How do you think this sort of plays out? Because I know there's a lot of political strategy, a lot of political clout kind of on the line here, and especially going forward.
Yeah, most definitely. And even earlier this week, the day that the articles of impeachment were officially introduced, the president headed to Hershey, Pennsylvania that night. Pennsylvania is a battleground state. Usually in rallies, of course, the majority of his base and supporters are the ones who turn out for those. And so when he was talking about the impeachment process, you heard the same things that you usually hear at the rallies, lots of boos. But you are seeing in states like Pennsylvania, the impeachment process working in his favor, like he was saying. Where it will remain to be seen is just how it plays out leading up to November in some of these other states that he hasn't visited yet. And then as far as Democrats go, it's just kind of a really a wait and see, I guess. Democrats have just said, you know, we can't let the president take advantage and rig another election. What would that do to our country? Whereas Republicans have been saying, well, you know, Democrats are really just making it easy for us in 2020.
Is there a possibility that the president doesn't get officially impeached? I know this was kind of right down party lines here, but when it goes full House, is there kind of a vibe up there of we could probably see a lot more of the same thing, or is there a chance that maybe a lot of Democrats, in a sense, they've seen, as you mentioned, this almost working in President Trump's favor?
So even Democrats on the Judiciary Committee, when we were trying to get it out of them which way they would be voting on Friday ahead of the vote, they were keeping that really close to the chest. A lot of them were saying that'll just come out during the vote. But then when it actually happened, we saw what we expected right down party lines. I think that that's what's going to end up happening. There may be a few that defect, but from what we're hearing right now, it won't be this big surprise. I think moving forward, the president president will be impeached in the House. And then, you know, the Senate has never convicted a president, but some, when it's gotten to this level, even when it's gotten to the level that it rose to on Friday, that's when Nixon resigned because he knew what was going to happen to him. But I don't think that idea has even crossed President Trump's mind.
Surely not here. To some actual business going on up in D.C. The USMCA finally getting signed, finally into law. What does this mean for not only country, but maybe even here in Arkansas going forward?
And so that's the thing about USMCA. Since the House had been tying it up for so long, Republicans were criticizing Speaker Pelosi, for holding it up for nearly a year, and then the House finally acted on it. But while it seems like it should be case closed and done, it actually still has to go to the Senate before it even lands on the president's desk. And everybody was hoping for that before Christmas, so it could be this nice present wrapped up in a bow to President Trump. But that's not the case. Mitch McConnell came out and said that the Senate just doesn't have the time to go through the process and vote on USMCA. There should be some debate on that as well on the floor. And so he's blaming it, of course, on the impeachment process, saying they can't take it up until after this trial that everybody's kind of waiting to have happen, potentially in January when everybody gets back from that Christmas recess. And so the president has still been waiting on it. It's been talked about it for a really long time, but like a lot of people on the Hill like to say, nothing in politics is a coincidence. Speaker Pelosi announced USMCA just moments after the articles were introduced this week. And so I think that that kind of, you were asking about the election earlier. Yeah. I think that's something strategic that Democrats wanted to do, where they said, you know, for some of their constituents who are against impeachment, they can say, well, we had to move forward with impeachment, but look what we did too with USMCA. And
quickly here, Jesse, I know H3 kind of also slipping under the radar here, actually could have some huge ramifications across the country.
Yeah, so prescription drug prices, that affects really all Americans, or at least someone, you know, someone who we all love. And H.R. 3, that was a Democrat bill that the House was able to pass this week. It goes to the Senate, but while the president and the Republican-controlled Senate, while they've been proponents of lowering prescription drug prices, they're not big fans of H.R. 3. They're worried that, you know, potentially going with this plan, lowering drug prices this way, essentially allowing the government to negotiate drug prices with drug manufacturers would kind of stifle competition. And so they're putting forth their own ideas. And so while this was passed out of the House, it may get stuck in the Senate, where we see some potential new legislation emerge and then go through the legislative process as well.
Never a dull moment up there in the district. Jesse Turnor, we appreciate you coming on. All right, coming up after a quick break, find out how feral hogs, dicamba, and China trade are impacting Arkansas. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back to Capitol View. Joining us now to talk Arkansas Agriculture State Representative Mary Bentley and State Senator Ricky Hill. Guys, thank you for coming on here. Man, you guys have been busy despite the fact it's winter time and everything.
Yeah, no doubt. It's like Christmas time almost. So
I know.
Yeah,
You've had plenty
going on. Sure.
Absolutely. You've had plenty of parties to get to. I know we talked about a little bit, one of the big issues here facing Arkansas, kind of oddly enough, everybody's about the Razorbacks in the state, but in terms of the agricultural thing, man, nobody wants to deal with those feral hogs and everything. Yeah. I guess, what is the state doing, trying to do to kind of counteract the problem?
Well, we just got we're given a $3.2 million grant, so from USDA to bring in, which we're excited about because, you know, we've really not had anybody, one person focusing on it. It's been with the Game and Fish, but their agents are kind of in and out. So we need one person laser focus on this. So what are we going to do to move forward? So we've got Mr. Luke Lewis now been assigned with the funds that we got from that $3.2 million. He's the head guy that's going to be making sure that we have people specifically getting out there, getting traps out there, and getting some of these hogs caught. So there's, you know, I think we'll be able to actually get something moving forward. We've done a lot of studying where they're at, where's the heaviest. So we've got a pilot program going with 22 counties, and we're going to bring in some more traps in there, folks in there, get some of these feral hogs caught. It's really caused so much damage to our farmers, and I've got, you know, I probably, when the first year I got here, get so many calls from folks, just really, what in the world are we going to do? So, you know, I know some of my constituents like us to, you know, just bring up the firing squad and let everybody and their brother shoot them, but it's just not working. So we're going to get some traps out there and see what we can do moving forward. Just get a concerted effort. And really, I know we put a task force together, and you know the legislature did a couple years ago. So I think that's really brought a big effort, good data. Now we got things that's moving forward. We got some funds to make it happen. So I'm excited that we can actually move forward, maybe because we got numbers out there. No one really knows. Yeah, they're just populating like crazy, so we have got to do something.
And Senator Hill, I know we were talking before the show. I mean, we're talking upwards of $30 billion impact on this, and I know a lot of it's sort of concentrated in that southern Arkansas area. Is that right?
Yes, sir. It's mainly in southern Arkansas, where the 22 counties are where they're doing the pilot program. You're looking at about $30 billion, not million dollars, in damage to crops, habitat for the Game and Fish Commission's areas that they have. Trees, forestry, everything is impacted by them totally. I mean, it's just devastating, the damage they're doing. And as far as the state of Arkansas goes, we've got to decide, we want to try to get rid of the hogs, or we want to have deer hunting available in the state of Arkansas. It's pretty simple. Two of them do not go good together.
Absolutely here. And another buzzword in the ag industry here has been dicamba. It's been kind of a very divisive thing, one way or the other. What's the legislature kind of doing to sort of figure this out, you know, when to use it, how to use it?
Sure. We had an ag committee meeting the other day at the Farm Bureau Convention here at the State Convention Center, really just talking about it. I had some good discussion there and some new rules that are being come from the plant board, and some of our farmers are really concerned about some mapping that they wanted these guys to do was going to cost them about $30,000 per tractor. It's a little too much. So we were able to reach a consensus on that, and we just really, you know, wanted to work things together. We've got guys that are spraying and they need it to produce their crops. We've got other guys that we don't want to, sweet potato farmers. We don't want them to lose their crops. So really been working together on that, coming to a consensus, giving specific dates when they can spray it, when they can't, and continuing to work together. And that's really what it's all about. What can we all work together to make it happen? So
May the 25th is the cutoff time. They're looking to spraying dicamba. You still have both sides, side that's totally far backing the cutoff date up to a shorter time frame. Then you have the other side that wants to make it a little farther on out into June. Neither side is happy right now with the results, which from what I have always been told, if neither side's happy, it's kind of like a divorce. That was a good divorce. So possibly this will be a good scenario for all of them, that maybe get this date down. Try it this year, see how it works. We can always back up and try it again, and hopefully we'll let science prevail and let that be the deciding factor what needs to take place. As far as the plant board goes, you have both sides with the plant board, some wanting to back it up to a shorter date, some with a longer date, so it's not even a consensus with them where we are on everything, but hopefully it'll all work out and they can come together and continue on to farm, because we don't want to see anyone's crop damaged.
And if nobody's happy, you guys obviously made a pretty good decision.
We're hoping
most of the time here. The levy task force, we had them on a couple of weeks ago here. Any updates with that? I know you're actually a part of that.
Right, we're having a final meeting coming up this Monday to go over what we're going. I'm excited as a legislature. We're looking at that. You know, we've had laws in the books from like 1809, forever back. So we're really get a consensus going forward, working together. It's been great to hear from the Corps of Engineers, and my farmers really had no idea what was going on with the Corps and really what the rules were. So we're going to get something in writing, a handbook they can look at, some rules that will really make things going forward with a good consensus with our county judges and everybody working together. I think it's been great for the state. I think moving forward, you know, my district was really hit heavy with this flood, so hopefully we can get some things moving forward well to get levees repaired and see less damage next time. That's what it's all about.
And I know too that the governor's real big on education. It's been one of his things, a lot of the computer science things here. It seems to be kind of slow going with access to the broadband in some of those more rural areas. Kind of both of y'all's areas are kind of impacted by that. What can we see going forward, or what's even out there on the table when it comes to better access?
Well, we've got, you know, we did got all the schools where they're connected now, which is great. So, but like us, we've got people moving out of my district because they don't have good broadband. It's essential. It's not like you can, it's like electricity now. You've got to have. As my company, I can't function without it. So there's no way business can move forward, and farming needs it. So the governor put forth $25 million. We're going to use that to hit some of the very rural areas. Hopefully, get those connected to smaller towns, and also there's some things coming down the pike on the federal level. To make it happen, so we can look at some. We've got, I think we now have Nathan Smith on there with a good broadband director. Again, you've got to have a plan moving forward, and everybody working together and have a consensus, and this is what it's going to do to make it happen. But it's something we've got to do. We're all about making sure our rural areas are not. We don't want our kids left in the dark, and I don't want my district left in the dark. And so it's essential, even for like our state parks. I think it's great to have it there. I mean, there's so many people coming in. It's a good tourism thing. So let's do it again to make it happen. I think we're all on the same board. I think it's one thing we're all agreeing. Yeah, definitely.
As far as the overall state of Arkansas goes, we've spent so much money and so much time trying to keep rural America alive, rural Arkansas. That's been a big issue, and one of the downfalls to rural Arkansas is the broadband communications with that. And in those areas, we've got to get the kids to where they can continue to get a good education. Because in today's world, they have to have access. I mean, it's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They have to have access to it for them to be able to learn and continue to learn in the global society that we live in. It's not just a state of Arkansas where we're dealing with. We're dealing with people from all over the country, all over the world.
Yeah, I mean, I get emails all the time about it.
Have access. And this ties into agriculture too, because if you look at the technology involved in agriculture,
that's what I was about to say.
The GPS systems we were talking about a while ago, the mapping and everything that's involved with the chemicals, the fertilizer, and everything. When you go to breaking it down to where these farmers are putting fertilizer per square foot, and the same way with chemicals per square foot, or where the technology is there where it can identify the weed and you only spray that particular weed instead of spraying the whole field. We have got to get rural America or rural Arkansas to where it needs to be, and with Nate being involved now, we're looking at continuing on to try to get these kids access, and hopefully within the next month we'll be able to come forward and say this is what we've done for the state of Arkansas and the rural communities.
Yeah,
good deal. And like you were saying earlier, it's always good to have a guide, kind of.
Well, it's great. You got to have, just like we did with Farm to School, you got to have a person at the lead to make things happen. I get emails all the time from folks. If I just had internet at the house, I could stay here and work. Wouldn't have to drive that hour to Little Rock every day. So I'm excited what we can do to make it happen. So
there you go.
Yeah, no doubt.
Mary Bentley, Ricky Hill, guys, we thank you for joining us in here.
Thank you. It's been
We're
great.
Here to,
appreciate it, Jay.
Always here to talk things ag, that's for
we
sure.
love agriculture.
Can I add one more thing?
What you got?
I'd like to say congratulations to Rich Hillman, the new Farm Bureau president, and also the Anderson family in Arkansas for being named the Farm Family of the Year in the state of Arkansas. Jamie and Neil and their families. I'd like to say congratulations to them, and just so for the record, both of those are from Lonoke County.
Hey, there you go. The politician's always politicking. That's how it is there.
That's how it is.
So shouts out to them here.
All right, Merry Christmas, everyone.
All right, appreciate you guys. And when we come back, we take a look at your top political headlines. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back to Capitol View. The State Board of Education making a motion to fully give the Little Rock School District back local control. Members passed unanimously that the district will no longer be under state control after voters decided on a 9-member local school board. That election will be in November of 2020. There are 3 limitations the local school board must follow. They can't make any changes to the superintendent. They can't make changes to the personnel policy committee, and the local board can't institute lawsuits other than routine contract litigation. The board must follow these 3 guidelines while the district is under level 5 intensive support.
At such times, the Little Rock School District has found we've met the exit criteria for leaving level 5 intensive support. The 3 restrictions set forth above shall be lifted.
Board members also voted to reorganize the staff at Hall High School, which will become a computer science-based school. That means all staff members must reapply for their jobs. On the campaign trail, Senator Elizabeth Warren says she's pretty much the only major Democratic candidate willing or capable of making big changes to the economy. Warren proudly dubbed herself the Wall Street enemy during an economic address in New Hampshire, and she continued to differentiate herself from her Democratic opponents. She took indirect but pointed swipes at Pete Buttigieg, Joe Biden, and billionaires Tom Steyer and Michael Bloomberg.
Look, I watched last week when Kamala Harris announced that she was being forced out of this race by money. At the same time that two billionaires are buying their way into this primary.
Buttigieg spokeswoman accused Warren of divisive politics and accusing those who disagree with her policies of belonging to the wrong party. Michael Bloomberg says his campaign is ready-made to appeal to California voters. The Democratic presidential candidate visited Stockton Wednesday afternoon, where he received Mayor Michael Tubbs' endorsement. He says California voters understand that political slogans and simple solutions don't apply to big economies and wealth disparity. Bloomberg says he doesn't oppose hiking taxes on the wealthy while shielding the middle class.
In terms of the wealth tax, number one, when I was mayor, I did something that wasn't exactly popular. I raised taxes dramatically, particularly on the wealthy, but a little bit on everybody.
Bloomberg also introduced a plan that would increase funding for low-income housing tax credits, which he says would lead to the building of more affordable housing units. Andrew Yang has qualified for next week's Democratic presidential debate. The campaign says he's already met the fundraising threshold established by the Democratic National Committee, and now he's reached 4% support in a newly released national poll by Quinnipiac University. A bipartisan defense bill is moving through Congress, and it contains benefits that thousands of military families have been waiting for. Washington correspondent Kelly Meyer talks with one of the senators that helped get it done.
After decades of waiting, more than 65,000 surviving military spouses will receive the benefits they earned.
They now know people truly care.
Democratic Alabama Senator Doug Jones helped get what's called the Military Widows Tax repealed as part of this year's National Defense Authorization Act. Together with Maine Republican Senator Susan Collins, Jones eliminated a provision that prevented Gold Star families from receiving survivor benefits from the Department of Defense and Veterans Affairs.
It has just been one of the most unfair programs that the United States has had that has been hoisted on military families.
This bipartisan step marked an 18-year effort to pass this bill on Capitol Hill. I asked Senator Jones why it took so long to go through.
I think it's been a budget issue. You know, a lot of times people up here, they tend to look at dollars and cents more than they do right or wrong.
Jones says this year was different, with nearly 80 senators co-sponsoring the bill. The changes will be phased in over the next 3 years. Jones says that means about an additional $12,000 per year for some 2,000 spouses in Jones' home state of Alabama. For military spouses, the help can't come soon enough.
When I called some of these widows the other day that I've been working with, it was so gratifying that they just started crying.
The NDAA passed the House just this week and is expected to pass the Senate before lawmakers break for the holiday recess. Reporting in Washington, I'm Kelly Meyer.
And we're back to put a ball on it after this. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And that is it for this week on Capitol View. Make sure you download the Capitol View podcast wherever you get your podcast. We're back with an all-new Capitol View next week. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.